So let's see. Here we go.
Are you going to kind of open it, Jen, or do you just want me to run the whole thing?
I think we're open. I think people are joining us now. So for those of you who are coming in right now, we just opened the webinar. So it's about 4:59 on the West Coast. We're gonna we're probably gonna give it about 5 minutes while everybody joins in. So thank you for your patience and thanks for joining us. And Chris will let you all know when we're gonna get started.
All right.
I'm also going to put that in the chat.
Perfect.
I am going to turn off my cleaning robot and I will be right back.
All good, man. So how about that college football over the weekend?
I'm a Badger, so it hasn't been the best year, but there's been some really exciting games.
I'm riding to TCU right now.
University of Florida, Tennessee. A lot of people from the University of Florida tuning in. What's up, Region 7?
Rodrigo from Duke. All right. World Series champs. Okay, we're no football. We're gonna go baseball. All right, we can do that.
UC Berkeley, Cal Poly, Slow. A lot of Duke. That's good to hear. When I was Region 7 vice president, we were just getting that chapter back on. So it's cool to see a lot of Duke represented in the chat.
Brianne, what have you been up to? I see you on, but muted.
Yeah, I was actually at the Latina Engineer Conference this weekend. So partnering, getting more Shatinas, we were having a blast.
Fire.
Shout out to my Region 6. Chicago had beautiful weather.
For like, what, another 2 weeks, and then it gets cold and windy?
Hey, I'll take it. If I can wear a blazer and not sweat my face off, I'm here for it.
Woodland Community College, shout out.
Hello. Pull the chat up, pull the Q&A up. Cypress College, hello, Wendy. All right, y'all, the numbers are slowing down a little bit, so I think we're going to go ahead and get this started, if that's all right with everybody. So welcome. Glad y'all are with us this evening. My name is Chris Wilkie, for those of you that I don't know, CEO of SHPE, and tonight we are joined by two of our lifetime members who have grown up in the organization, supported us as professionals, and continue to just be highly involved in not only SHPE, but the overall Hispanic STEM ecosystem. And that is Mr. Jay Flores and Fernando Rosario joining us this evening. And what we thought we would do is a little bit of a fireside chat kind of conversation and dive into several different topics related to convention and what tends to happen at convention, and also lean a little bit into this concept of fearless that we've kind of been advertising around some of convention, and talk a little bit about what it means to be fearless as an individual, and also in our careers as we learn to take calculated risk along the way that have the opportunity to really pay off for us. And oftentimes there's some emotions around those risks as we're trying to figure out what might be the best thing to do. And we we sometimes lean into that a little bit and decide to take those calculated risks, and other times we may pause and not quite decide to jump. And so we're going to talk a little bit about some of those scenarios tonight with Fernando and Jay. And I think one of the first things that comes to mind to me when we talk about this type of space is the idea of building some type of the killer brand. And I know both of you have kind of allowed your careers to take off in your early career, and then as the years have gone by, you've really honed in on a very big and reflected self brand that I'd love to just hear a little bit about, being fearless along the way, and when maybe you took some calculated risk. And Jay, I mean, you're blowing up right now, man, across all the social media, and between everything you do in the STEM field, but then also, semifinalists this past year on American Ninja Warrior, and talk to us a little bit about your journey and some of those fearless opportunities that have gotten you to the brand that you are today as an individual and a professional.
Yeah, a lot of that has just been building slowly over time. And it looks like an overnight success, right? When finally you make it and you're on TV and you're in front of all these people. But it took me 10 years of failed applications, of rejections, of ups and downs to finally get onto American Ninja Warrior. And it was about being able to take that next step, that next application, that next training session, and not let fear of another rejection or another failure get in the way of that thing that I was passionate about. So it was just like, how do I keep myself moving forward in that space when I know there's a really good chance that I'm going to get a no again? There's a lot of people that want to do this. There's a lot of great stories out there. Why would they pick me after they've told me 9 times no already? And it was just keeping what I was most passionate about at that core, protecting that vision and pushing forward regardless of what they were saying, because I knew this was really important to me. But not just being kind of all crazy about it and doing the same thing over and over again, but learning from each one of those mistakes and using them as a building block. So most people fear failure and they fear past mistakes, not realizing that that's also a building block. So for example, if we were to take success and failure as failure is a red Lego brick and success is a green Lego brick, you can build with either Lego brick. The color doesn't matter. It's still something that's going to help you grow. But most of us put our red Lego bricks to the side and we don't use those, and we fear and we don't go down that path anymore. And we only focus on the green ones. Whereas every time I got a rejection, I sought feedback and I started trying to figure out what it is that I needed to do a little better. One year I didn't show enough of my personality. Another year I didn't show enough of my fitness. This time I brought in a little more energy around STEM, and really just being who I was and being fearless and showcasing everything that I could bring to the table, and not what I thought other people would want to see. Because what they really want to see is genuine, unique people that stand out. And that's what finally gave me that opportunity. And I spread that across all kinds of other things within my career as well. Just being able to go from engineering to then getting paid by a Fortune 500 company to do STEM outreach as my full-time job, right? As global STEM ambassador of Rockwell Automation, being fearless enough to say, hey, this is what I want to do. This is why I think it's going to bring value to the company. And this is why I'm uniquely positioned to do it. And they could have just said, you're crazy. There's no other job like this in the world. Why would we do this? Instead, they saw this as a unique opportunity for the company to grow and have success. And Rockwell Automation is actually the sponsor of the Fearless Track at conference. So it's a cool kind of full circle moment. But it was just using those opportunities to go after what I was very passionate about, protecting those core kind of things that I care about the most, and keep learning and growing from it.
And Fernando, you've kind of built your brand in a spotlight as well, but a slightly different spotlight, where you do a ton of professional development. You work with companies all around the world on improving their culture and improving their business practices, and have made your own sense of celebrity brand, if you will, within the circles that you run in. And talk to us a little bit about how you may have done some things a little bit differently than Jay's path, but at the same time had similar results.
Yeah, no, this is a great question, and it's a tough act to follow, after Jay, right? So I'm gonna have to say, I do remember meeting Jay when he was a student, and the minute I met him, I mean, he was focused, he had a clear objective, he knew where he was going, and look at him now, right? So I am so proud of Jay, and I am a follower. I'm a big fan, so I have to say that right off the bat, so everybody's clear. I am a big fan of Jay. I remember when he was just a kid, not that you're old, but when you were just a kid. I would have to say I subscribe to many of the things that Jay said already, right? So it is about not following just a pattern, not following the path. As I always say, breaking the pattern. It's about understanding where you want to go and where you're headed. It is surprising to me how many people actually don't know where they want to go, and that's the start of the whole chain events, right? So if you have a clear picture of your future, it doesn't have to be very specific. It's got to be clear. If you are clear, trust me, the universe will make sure that things fall in line. And that's my motto all the time. I look at things in two ways. You're either a victim or you are actually making things happen. And that's my philosophy, right? When I listen to people complain, I figure, what's the opportunity that you have in front of you? It is not uncommon for everyone to say, everyone falls, just get up, right? It's about failing forward. What it's daunting is the number of people that actually don't take that advice to heart, right? So in my opinion, to your question, Chris, right? It's been about always looking ahead. Where do I want to go? Once I'm clear on that, trust me, there's nothing that gets in the way. We're going to make it happen. And this is part of what I talk about all the time, right? Whether it's by my skills or my relationships, my communications or whatever it is, the tools that I have in my tool belt, those are the ones that I'm going to use to reach that goal. So again, it's all about defining clearly where you want to go. And more on that later, but that's my philosophy.
And that's really I'm going to push back and say that's the exact opposite of a lot of my philosophy, right? Because you look over my career and it's like, man, when did the window crack? And that's where I'm going to jump. So, a lot of people, they think, okay, I went to school, I've got this degree, I need to go get this type of job. This type of job leads to this promotion. This promotion leads to the next step. I'm going to climb the ladder in this exact manner and this straight line. And then somehow years from now, I'm going to be this successful, quote unquote, person and living my life. And I've kind of done the exact opposite. Like, I'm looking for, when's that window going to open that can give me an opportunity that I would have never thought of.
Correct.
And so I wonder, Jay, you've heard two very different opinions there, right, and approaches. But what do you think on that? And what have you done with regards to a straight line or looking for those little cracks in the window, or maybe a combination of both?
Yeah, I think I've got a happy medium for you guys. Because if you look at me, it's like STEM, Ninja Warrior. I do a maker show on PBS that I'm a host of. It seems like all these random things. And I think what it is, it's a mix of what both of you are saying. In the long-term vision of who I want to be, it's not as clear. It's more of, I set a level of excellence for myself, right? I want to be aiming for this general volume of level of excellence. And as I'm going towards that clear path, in Fernando's case, I take little zigzags and I go after this opportunity, and then this pops up, and I'm doing experiments now on Ninja Warrior, which is getting me more exposure than if I was just doing it in my kitchen. And so you find these kind of waypoints along the way to your final destination. Fernando's laughing because I learned that in his term in his workshops, because I'm also a big fan of Fernando's, and I was always front row in his workshops. So as you start getting a little bit closer to that kind of level of excellence, or that path in which you directed yourself, it could be an industry, it could be a level of leadership that you want within a company, then you start kind of taking your way, getting closer and closer until you find out what that end point eventually is. But if you don't set that volume, if you don't set the direction to at least get you out there, you're going to get lost, right? You're going to go off in this direction. Now, if you take those little zigzags, you'll still get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm going to add to that real quick, Chris. So what Jay's referring to is, right, I've always used the term waypoints. to reach your goal, right? So it's not a straight line. It's never going to be, right? That's called charting your career. What's important to me is for everyone to understand is you can be, I love to sail, right? You can be a drift. You can let the boat go where it needs to go, and that's okay. And along the ways, you're going to find new islands. Absolutely. And some of those islands could be fantastic. Some of them cannot be that great. And that's the only difference in the opportunity, right? I stack the deck. I want to make sure that where I am going adrift is the general direction that needs to take place. Otherwise, you may not get an opportunity. Some people go adrift and never see the opportunity show up because they keep bumping into the wrong islands. Now, let's be a bit more intentional about it, right? Let's just go in the general direction, not go adrift. You can take waypoints, as Jay is saying, right? It's zigzagging, it's tacking and jiving. You know, take your sailboat, tack and jive, and seize the opportunity. But in my opinion, I never leave it to chance, right? Because when you open up the opportunities to leave it to chance, you're letting a whole lot of factors impact you, right? Politics, economy, finances, right? Disgruntled people, right? Everyone is going to have a say in which way you're sailing. Now, all that I'm trying to say is you can't avoid that, but you can minimize it. And again, the one thing that I try to avoid as a coach is you can take any decision that you want, as long as you can live with the consequences. Again, it's your decision, but don't complain. As long as you can live with your consequences of whatever decision you made, then be okay with it. What I'm not okay with it is for people to make a decision and not be okay with the consequences. That applies to everything. Hey, Fernando, I chose not to move for a particular job. That's okay. Don't complain when somebody else actually makes the move and gets the accolades. I'm okay if you don't want to get that certain promotion. That's okay. But then don't complain when somebody else gets it. So again, make any decision that you want as long as you can live with the consequences.
Yeah. So, great advice from both of you. And I promised, we all promised kind of in some of the communications, we'd tie a little bit of this into convention. And we know that, a good 60% of our attendees at convention are first time attendees. And most of the audience and attendees there are looking for those internships and those jobs that come out of the career fair. So if we summed up the last 10 minutes or so of conversation into one piece of advice from each of you for that particular group, what would it be?
Jay? Have a map for convention. Don't just show up and look at the schedule that's written somewhere and pretend that something's going to happen, right? Have a game plan. Have your top 3 companies that you want to, this is dream job, right? I want you to have, everyone on this call should have a list of their top 3 dream job companies. I don't want you just showing up and figuring out whatever internship you can find, right? If you're intentional about that, if you know every workshop that company that you care about is going to have, and you can position yourself in the front row in some of those, you can ask a question at some of those, where their career fair booth is, so that you're not just walking around wasting time, stopping at other companies along the way, and you're really focused and intentional, you're going to have that much more time and success at convention than as if you don't have that game plan. And maybe there's a session that you weren't thinking about right away that ends up being really cool and sounds awesome. If Fernando's workshops aren't on your schedule, then it has to be on there. Then, that's great, but definitely go in there with a game plan. If you're a freshman or a first time person, make sure that you're talking to upperclassmen or alumni that have been to convention before, because I remember my first time at convention, I went from a chapter that had maybe 10 of us active members, right, to then seeing thousands of people and hundreds of rooms of workshops and having no clue what to do. Fortunately, I figured it out, but it took a while and it was a lot more difficult than if I wouldn't have had a game plan right away. So just show up with a plan. You've got time, you've got a couple of weeks, and a lot of information is already out there.
Yeah, I'll add to that, right? And I'm gonna, in the spirit of sharing information, I'm gonna date myself. So this is going to be my upcoming 30th convention. So that's 30. And
Wow.
I've only missed one convention out of those 30, just one. And it was in California, Fresno, California, many, many years ago. And I could not agree with Jay more, right? You have to have a game plan. End of story. If you don't have it, don't even bother attending. And I'm gonna, and if you know me, you've heard me say this before, right? This is the time that I ask you to turn your engineering minds off. I'm an engineer, so I can say, right? Turn your engineering minds off, because this is not a sequence of events. These are very specific opportunities that can be shaped to your benefit. Jay's game plan is not going to be my game plan, which is not going to be Chris's game plan or Brian's game plan. It just doesn't work that way. You're going to get bombarded with great, meaningful, important workshops and connections and activities. You need to create the game plan that works for you, not for Jay, not for Fernando, for you. And how do you do that? It takes time. The question is, do you want to be fearless? Which I love this series, by the way, that SHPE is putting together. Do you want to be fearless, or do you want to be just like the rest of the group? The fearless individuals are going to acknowledge this is going to take a couple of hours, but they will take the time to figure out the game plan. And not only that, a game plan is not a straight line. Game plan has plan B and plan C. What if I don't get the following interview? That's okay, because I have 2 other lined up. What if I don't get to attend this workshop? That's okay, because my game plan has already thought about that. So game plan is critical. And again, it's not a transaction. It is what benefits you. End of story. Use your network, your relationships, mentors. Ask. Try to understand, how do you get the most benefit from that convention? If you were to tell me, Fernando, I just don't know what to do, then again, I'm going to go back to, you're not clear on what you're trying to get out of it, right? And by the way, no, not everyone is attending convention just to get a job. There's many things that you can benefit from just being there.
Yeah. And, I think that's a great segue, because one of the topics that we kind of brainstormed when we were talking about just kind of prep for this call and this meeting was a little bit about beyond the career fair, right? Because everyone always knows SHPE's convention as the largest career fair for Hispanics and STEM in the country. And absolutely it is. And we've got some of the best companies represented on that career fair floor. But there's so much more beyond that, especially when you think about the relationships that you can build. Fernando, I'm sure we could probably call out a few people that go back 30 years with you and then some, and that were probably here when you came in and are still around today. The Diana Gomez's of the world, etc. And so talk a little bit about some of those things outside of the jobs and the internships that you guys may have gotten, or the interviews you may have gotten, beyond the career fair at convention and some of those experiences.
No, and I'll start with that, and I'll throw it up to Jay. Listen, attending convention, one thing is the people that you're going to meet, the companies that you are going to interact with, the workshops that you're going to attend and learn, and yes, the social life that you are going to get to experience. I have friends, right? When we say a familia, this is truly a familia. I have friends that I can count on anywhere. I can name one right off the bat. I'm not sure if she's here, but Adriana Ocampo, right? Part of the board, lifetime member. It's not just to talk about convention. Adriana and I talk about many, many different things. Jay has been a friend for years, right? I met Jay through SHPE, right? As I was giving a workshop. That doesn't mean our friendship ends with SHPE, right? We've talked about Ninja Warriors. We've talked about his endeavors, his company, and all that good stuff, right? So we do coaching back and forth. He's helped me. I've helped him. It is what it is, right? Number 3, connections with companies, right? I've had the opportunity to get my foot in the door to many different companies because I've met them at SHPE. Lifelong friends and family. So that to me is critical when we talk about the SHPE Familia, right? The SHPE Familia. Not only have I given advice, but I've received solid advice from many of the members. I've had an opportunity to work with many of the ship CEOs, good friends, good coaching, good conversations. We've had dinners, we've had, parties, we've enjoyed each other's companies. So beyond convention, it's a complete ecosystem of recommendations, referrals, coaching, sponsorship, friends, advocates, right? Opening doors that you don't even know exist. Every once in a while, you're going to get somebody tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, Jay, I'm not sure if you knew about this opportunity, but go look over here. So beyond convention is just a completely new ecosystem and world that you need to be ready for. If and only if you take advantage of what SHPE is putting in front of you.
Yeah, this is the largest gathering of Hispanics and STEM, as we're saying. It's not just the largest career fair. There's so much around that. And speaking of being fearless, I want you all that are listening today to pretend that the career fair is at a time that you can't be there. Let's just pretend that for whatever reason, you can't go to the career fair or it's canceled, right? You need to have a game plan to have your interviews, to have your offers, everything before the career fair even begins. And it is possible. I'll go back to even one of my first ones. If your resume isn't uploaded, I'm talking to professionals as well as students, your resume should be uploaded, right? My first career fair, my first national convention, I received an email a week or two before from a company I didn't know was in my backyard, but was really cool, scheduling an interview for the day I got there. I got off the plane, went to convention, and sat down. First thing I did was get an interview, right? Because of that whole ecosystem that SHPE has to set you all up for success. How many people are leveraging that is the real case here. Make sure that you're doing that, right? And then, yes, the career fair will not be canceled, but I want you to pretend that it doesn't exist. Workshops, hospitality suites, corporate tours, competitions, every single one of those should be treated just like you would treat the career fair, but in a special way, right? Each one of those is an opportunity to get an internship, to get a new job, to get an interview. And those, as Fernando was saying, are the scenarios in which you are going to build relationships as well. Career fairs sometimes are a little bit transactional if you don't know how to leverage it, or if you're walking up to a person that's been standing there for too long and hasn't had enough breaks. You don't have the same amount of opportunity to build that relationship. So be fearless and ask a question in a workshop. Be fearless and sit in front of front row each time, right? That's how I got Fernando's attention. Aside from my first presentation, I was in his workshop front row every single time. To eventually he's like, Jay, get up and come present with me because you've been to too many of these. That's how those relationships are built and are more meaningful than the career fair interaction. Career fair is going to be wonderful, but if you can go there and say, hey, Adriana from Boeing, I went to your session earlier and this is what I liked. Instead of just walking up and saying, hi, my name is Jay, I'm a mechanical engineer and I'm a SHPE member. Right, which is what most people are saying as they're coming up to the recruiter who's heard that story 300 times already and has seen a bunch of other people that also have good majors and good GPAs and internship experiences. So those are the spots where you're going to build those relationships. You're going to have unique opportunities to get ahead of the game. And even if it does still come down to the career fair, you're going to have something better to talk about than if you were just coming up to that company blindly. So leverage that as much as you can.
And let me let you in on a little secret. Sorry, Chris, but this
Nope, you're good. You're good. I love it.
In a little secret. You may think that the companies and the organizations that attend are competing with each other. When you build those relationships, company A, if you stand out, is going to call company B and say, hey, you know what? I don't have a spot for so-and-so, but you want to take a look at that person. So shine with every interaction that you have, because it's not uncommon for all of the corporate reps to talk to each other, even when they are in competition in the industry. We all, as Brian was saying, this is the largest gathering of Hispanic. We all want what's best for the community, which means if I can't hire you, but you stand out, chances are I'm going to pick up the phone and say, hey, Adriana, you may want to take a look at the following candidates. So make sure that you spread your wings and get yourself known to everyone. And post-convention or beyond convention, maybe you don't have luck this year. Trust me, the relationships will carry you forward next time around.
It's huge. And I want to share, I think it's 14. I got to recount. Maybe I'm at 15, but 14 conventions that I've been to. The only two I missed, COVID. And then I was on a Telemundo TV show for 4 months and they didn't let me get off the island. So those are the only reasons why I haven't missed one. And I haven't needed a job since 2011 convention, right? And even then I actually had my job already lined up. So since 2010 convention, I haven't needed a job and I've gone to all of them except for 2. And that's because of the power of those relationships. They've led to other opportunities. It's been the advice from Fernando to help me grow my business so that when it was that time, I was ready and I had all this advice from this coaching expert. It's the relationships that I have with some of the companies that hire me to come in and talk to their community and their students. There's so many different ways in which you can benefit. Like the list is endless.
Yeah, so you guys, you've common theme here between both of you talking over the last few minutes here is the importance of the relationships that can be formed at convention. And you've hit on it from a couple of different angles, from the social side, from the long-term relationship, but also, that 30 seconds you get in front of that recruiter as well, or when you raise your hand and ask that question and then you follow up at the end of that workshop. So talk to us a little bit about the importance of the 30-second elevator pitch, right? And how you allow yourself to shine through in that 30 seconds or 45 seconds at the most that you're going to get in the window. And more importantly, how do you separate yourself?
Oh, Jay, go ahead. That's all you.
So I used to laugh when people would talk about, oh, you're in an elevator and you've got 30 seconds to talk to the CEO, until I was at SHPE convention and I'm in the elevator and Jose Hernandez, the astronaut, comes in and stands next to me, right? And I'm like, whoa, like I have the opportunity to talk to an astronaut in an elevator, right? Like the thing that everyone's been warning about actually happened. And it was absolutely one of the most like memorable moments. And one in like, oh, wow, this is why I need to be prepared for these scenarios, but then also to be able to have the opportunity to connect with someone. We're going to have some other pretty amazing people from space at convention. For those of you who don't know, Kat Echazarreta, she's going to be one of the speakers. And just recently went into space as a citizen astronaut. Mm-hmm. You might have that opportunity to stand in an elevator next to her. But my piece of advice is that an elevator pitch is not a 30-second word vomit about yourself, right? Because if I would have walked into that elevator and I saw Jose and I'm like, oh my God, blah, 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 this is who I am, blah, 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 this is what I do, blah, 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 this is what I'm passionate about. That's not a relationship that I could potentially build with him. He probably will forget that happened. And if he does remember, it'll probably be because it was really awkward and I just word vomited at him, right? So what you do is you have your 30-second pitch ready. You have your kind of talk about who you are and what you do and what you're passionate about, but you make it a conversation. You put out like little pieces of it. You make that introduction, you allow that person to interact back with you. You share an interesting fact about that connection or something that you saw at convention, and then you make it a back and forth. That's what turns it into a conversation, allows it to grow into a relationship versus you just using 30 seconds and maybe getting a little bit out of it, but probably not a relationship. So make sure that you have that well-defined and practice with your peers and others in terms of like how you deliver that and how you start building relationships.
Yeah. So Fernando, what do you got to add to that?
That this is one of my favorite topics. Jay knows it's one of my favorite topics, right? Number one is because, again, another opportunity for you to turn your engineering minds off. Number one, no, it doesn't have to be 30 seconds plus or minus. It doesn't have to be. Number two, you don't have to be in an elevator like Jay says, right? I rather call it not an elevator pitch, but I call it a 30-second commercial. Why? Because in 30 seconds, any company in the world can pitch you a commercial that will have you in awe. So here's my advice to you. Don't memorize it. Number one, don't, to Jay's point, you don't have to vomit that, to the recruiter. Don't memorize it. What do I suggest? Create a thread that is common on your storyline, and then take advantage as you would have a catalog of experiences that you can pull from. Don't forget that a 30-second commercial, it's all about being humans. It's about meeting you. It's about understanding who you are. And that's not always the same story for everyone. So if I get to talk to Chris, my 30-second commercial is going to be very different than my 30-second commercial for Jay. Will they follow the same thread? Absolutely. But I am going to pick from my catalog of experiences, the ones that I want to plug in and the ones that I'm going to take out. So with Jay, I would probably talk about adventure, experiences, entrepreneurship, right? The things that I know Jay cares about, and I'm going to put it into my thread. If I'm having a conversation with Chris, I'm probably going to talk about the finances, the community, right? Not that Jay doesn't care about, but these are different priorities at different points in time, right? Again, you may think it's the same story for everyone. It is not. You need to be quick in trying to read body language, understand the person you're talking to. Many times people tell me, Fernando, what if I meet someone I've never met in the past? Try to guess, educated guess what that person cares about. I always use the same example. If you are coming up in convention to as the first person, which some people say that's the greatest thing to do, I'm here to tell you it is not, because even the recruiters haven't warmed up, right? They don't know what's going on. They haven't even seen a resume yet. Don't ever be that first person. Now, if you are like me, stand back for a little bit, just watch the thing happens and unfold. Read the body language and understand what that person cares about. I'm not asking you to spend there and do a thesis on it. I'm asking you to be aware of your surroundings. Where do you have the more energetic individuals? Where are people that are hungry for information? Where can you add value? Let's say that you see a corporate representative trying to find coffee. Point them in the right direction. That's what it takes to do a 30-second commercial. So again, pick out a thread and build it from the catalog of experiences that you have and learn how to read body language and be aware of who you're talking to. And the 30-second commercial will change, period.
So great advice there from a social setting, Fernando. But I know we've got people on the call tonight sitting here going, but what do I do in the line and I get in front of the recruiter for the first time and I've been standing there for 30 minutes or 45 minutes and, you know, I'm rolling through and boom, it's my turn. I've never met the recruiter. I don't know anything about them. Where do I go?
So, and I'm going to start real quick, and I'm going to turn the tables, Chris. What did you just say? I've been standing there for 30 minutes. So it's all about you. That's wrong. If you've been standing 30 minutes in line, guess how many hours that person has been standing in line? Do you see where I'm going with this? So you know a lot about the individual even before they open their mouth. They've been standing there for hours. They've read 100 resumes. They've heard the same thing over and over, just like Jay was saying. Hi, my name is Fernando and I'm looking for a job. Really? I could have never guessed that being here at convention and standing in front of my line. Boom, right? So this is not about a magic trick. It's not magic, it's science. It's about understanding people. So you're standing in line. Number one, what do you think that person wants to know? There's no secret. Do you realize that companies already have a certain profile? They have different openings. They kind of know what they're looking for. If you're smart on the whole investigation, you're going to find out, hint, hint, because you have a game plan. Just like Jay said, you can figure out what company X, which you have in your game plan, is looking for. Because you know what they're looking for, then you can edit your 30-second commercial and hit them with the information they want to know. Do not follow the same script that in a large group of, in a large setting, everyone is going to follow. My name is so-and-so, I go to so-and-so school, and therefore you should be interested in me, and I've had a couple of internships. What makes you stand out? That same phrases have been said 100 times before you even talk to the recruiter. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Jay, anything you want to add, or you completely agree there?
I mean, he hit it spot on, but one thing I'll add is ever since probably middle school, you've been trying to fit in. You've been trying to be with the group in middle school and high school. And I speak mostly to, you know, middle school, elementary, and high school students in the STEM work that I do. So I see this all the time. But society celebrates people that stand out, right? Celebrities are famous because they stand out. They're unique in different ways, and they're able to tell the story of why, whether that's through their music or through their whatever skills that they're good at. And so you need to find out what that is about yourself in that industry that makes you stand out. If you don't know right now, you've got a couple of weeks to figure it out. And if you don't have anything, then this conference should be part of building that experience. Maybe you need to do extreme engineering because you don't have anything interesting on your resume. So I'm showing up to convention. I don't really have a lot to offer. I'm going to go to this competition, and that's going to help me stand out. So figuring out what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then being able to leverage and play those strengths at convention.
Yeah, awesome. And if it's okay with you two, Brianne, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
So so Brianne heads up all of our chapter and membership area here at SHPE, but she's also, I know, kind of grown up, for a lack of a better word, going through a lot of Fernando's trainings and courses as well. And I'd love to just suck you in for a couple of minutes and see if you've got a little different perspective as a Latina. And anything that you want to throw in here as you know, walking up to those recruiters and stuff as a Latina.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think to Jay's point earlier, like just really being able to marvel in yourself. I know I'm again giving the hype up in the chat, but just being able to like see other women like walk in their power. I know again, Fernando gave a shout out to Adriana. Adriana's in the chat, but just to see a woman like walk with her shoulders back and be proud of who she is. You know, being able to see women like that walking and passing by you in the hall is like, wow, like she got that. Like that's like, I'm capable of that. And being able to see other women not only just celebrate, but also lift you up and giving each other like the encouragement and the hype talks, like just having that confidence in front of you, the same that we all say, you know, lift as we climb, and you got to see it to be it. Like you truly can't, I want to say, like pull in or synergize this energy anywhere else. But Fernando mentioned, right, like we're looking out for each other. We truly want what's best for us. So if there's no time to like be celebrated and just like be your true authentic self, like this is it. Funny enough, we've been doing the Instagram lives, the LinkedIn lives, and so many other people were saying like it's even amazing because to have that one-on-one opportunity to talk to a recruiter who is Hispanic, who probably got their first internship at this exact same spot in the exact same line. Like you can't, again, like no amount of money or prayers or, you know, like pulling petals or four-leaf clovers could get that for you. And so you have that opportunity to really, you know, bare your heart and soul, but also, like you said, share what you're truly authentically interested in. If you're like, hey, you know, I want a job in Boeing or Accenture or whoever, right? But you're like, these three things are interesting me. Like, I'm not even sure which one. So I applied to all three. Like, even just having that type of passion and reassuredness of like, I'm leaning into you. I'm asking for your help, because I think so many times, as both gentlemen were mentioning, like, yes, have a plan, but be open to it, because, you know, I myself was like, oh, I have to be in this role. I really want to be a sales engineer. And then when people would say, I could really use someone with your ability to communicate on the shop floors as a manufacturing lead, as a quality team lead, like that was something I never even thought of considering. But I was like, you know, like I actually really enjoy that part. I enjoy learning to be a better communicator, of tying the two worlds of strategy and execution together. So I think the more that you are having that opportunity to really just tap into the amazing energy, I mean, why not like pump it through your veins and, you know, strut your stuff through it. So like I said, they're saying dropping gems as well. But I think rather than you feel like, well, I don't know if I'm going to have a plan, or I'm not going to have all the answers, that's okay too, right? Like you are truly with your familia. So lean into that. If you are a little nervous, you know, like they said, make a joke and kind of break the ice. That's always something I love about Fernando's presentations, is he won't just say like any questions. He'll say any questions, comments, jokes, and just that change of behavior really throws people off. So as he mentioned, offer someone coffee, or if you see someone kind of fiddling their shoes, be like, hey man, I'm breaking mine in two, right? Like, you know, just having those little moments with each other, you'd be amazed at like you find someone, you crack a smile, you say something they weren't expecting, and now you almost feel like their shoulders kind of release and like, like I'm with a friend.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Thanks,
I
Brianne.
love what Grant said, because don't just wait for the opportunity, create it. Rattle their brains until you create some space to sneak in. And once you're in there, make yourself comfortable, because you are in your house.
Yeah. So, Fernando, this one's passionate for you, I know. We just had a comment pop up in the chat asking about dress, and recognizing that, you know, when I say we've got some of the best companies in the world, we literally have the best companies in the world, but they range all across industry. And we see very formal business attire, but then to this person asking about the tech space, who's usually a very casual. What can people expect at convention, and what do you recommend when it comes to dress, particularly for the career fair and the interviews?
Sure. No, that's such a great question because even though the theme is fearless, I am going to say when it comes to the dressing topic, you want to make sure that you do your safe bet. And I'm going to tell you why. I am a big fan, as you already know, about reading body language, understanding humans, understanding how people interact. And this is the one area that you have no say in it. What do I mean by that? You cannot tell me how I judge people based on the way that they're dressed, which means you may think I'm in the tech space, therefore I should be relaxed, wear some jeans, wear a polo. Not if that's not what I'm looking for. Now, I'm not saying Fernando is the only person, judging you. Maybe you're gonna go talk to Jay, and maybe Jay is expecting somebody in a t-shirt because it's more relaxed. So this is not a right or wrong answer. This is one of those things that you want, and we're engineers. We all know about risk reward. Dress safe that you can tackle both sides of the spectrums, the one that's very relaxed and the one that's very conservative. I know of individuals that may not talk to you because you're not wearing a three-piece suit with a tie, and that is their right. Am I saying they're right or wrong? I'm not saying either one. I'm saying that's their right. The same way that other individuals are going to say, I'm expecting people to show up on a t-shirt. That's right too. So there's no right or wrong. My advice, and I hope that you take it, is go on the safe side, at least from a dressing perspective. Something that doesn't go over the top, right? But something that is not saying I'm going to go in jeans and flip-flops, because that may, push away both sides of the spectrums. Now, if you are very set on who you want and you're absolutely sure, but pay attention, you can make any decision you want as long as you can live with the consequences. If you know, and Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, that my target is Jay, right? And you know how Jay dresses or what his personal brand is, then go all in, all in. Be careful though, because that plan B may not work out because you double down on your dress code. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think Adriana, I know you're in the chat. Do you want to join us here? Because I'm watching your comments, and I know you've got some feedback here. So if you're comfortable, just unmute yourself and jump on in here.
And Adriana, I think, we
Yes.
share the same common here. Hi, Adriana.
Can you guys hear me?
We can, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I tell you, I understand exactly what Fernando was just sharing. I'm the one who thinks that actually it's best to be better dressed up than under. I've always been told, even though from the time that I work in manufacturing all the way now that I'm in management, that I stand out because of the way that I dressed up. And that doesn't mean that you always have to be better dressed than others. That's not what I'm talking about. Things and your work is all going to determine the proper attire that you need to wear. But if you're going to a career fair, for instance, I would say just be sharp, right? Obviously be comfortable with whatever you're wearing, because you're going to be in those clothes all day. And then you want to be comfortable while you're also talking to the recruiter. But to me, it's best to be a little bit over than under. So that plan B that Fernando was just mentioning works for everyone, right? Instead of just being underdressed and then having that opportunity to speak to the next company who is a little bit more conservative, where you're seeing the people wearing maybe that three-piece suit that Fernando was also mentioning. So I'd rather to be a little bit over than under.
Yeah. And I'll say one thing for the tech-minded people out there who say the tech industry is all casual. Yes, we definitely have those traditional tech companies that tend to be a little more relaxed in their overall climate and workspace and dress. But I will say, I don't think I've had a conversation with a corporate executive over the last 9 months that isn't looking for tech, no matter what the industry. And those companies aren't always your traditional tech relaxed type companies. So even if that's the industry that you're drawn and you're studying towards and you want to be in, keep an open mind that everybody is tech today.
Yeah.
from the finance industry to the automotive industry, all the places that historically may not have been quote tech, today they all are looking for tech in some form or fashion. So I agree with everything that's been said here, and I think Adriana, you really brought it home for us of kind of go the extra step. And I can also say over the last 5 years I've been to a lot of the different conferences out there that have career fairs, and SHPE tends to be the best dressed group.
Yes.
And we've heard it over and over and over again. So, it's your first conference, bring your A game when it comes to your dress, because everyone around you will be in their A game for sure. And so we got about 9 minutes left. I'm keeping an eye on the clock. We've talked a lot about kind of convention as a whole, your brand, your pitch, even the career fair some. But Jay, I'm gonna kick this one over to you to kick us off. What do you do when you get that interview and you're now not on the floor, but it's game time, and I'm now walking into the interview booth. Any advice on the actual interview itself once you get it?
Yeah, this is where you personalize, right? You started broad, and this is now where you start to focus in on those specific opportunities, those specific experiences that you've had that are very relevant for this industry. You start to tailor everything towards that company. You may even go to the resume center and adjust and update your resume specifically towards that company. So now, instead of your first resume that said, I am a mechanical engineer looking for an internship in this industry, now your resume says, I'm looking for an internship at this company, and it's much more specific and drawn towards what you're trying to portray there. If you have time between your interview, if there's any other workshops that company is delivering where you have a chance to learn more about what they care about, what they're looking for right now, what types of interviews they give, any of those hints, those are, that's your cheat codes that are going to allow you to be more successful in that interview. And then last but not least, just like, aside from those little things, not much you can change about yourself, right? So just be confident in who you are, what experiences you bring to the table, focus on your strengths and lead with that. If they ask you about weaknesses, or if you come across a question where it's an area that you're not as experienced in, then be honest about that, but be confident in that I'm the type of person that can figure this out. I've gotten this far. And so if that's you in the mirror in the bathroom giving yourself a pep talk, if that's you getting a couple members from your chapter to surround you and give you that positive encouragement, I'll give you a high five if you find me. Whatever it is that you need to make sure that your head and your energy is in a positive and exciting way. And don't forget that this is relationship building as well. Some interviews are a little bit more formal just by design of the company and them kind of their structure. But your job is to connect that with that person. Your job is to showcase your skills and stuff, but more importantly, to connect with them and help them understand that, yeah, this is a person that I want to work with someday.
Yeah, and Fernando, for you, I know you've sat in the recruiter's seat, you've trained the recruiters, you coach today. How do I manage the nerves, right? Once I get that interview, I'm walking into the booth. It's likely one of the first, interviews at this caliber that I've had in my career, or one of the first few. What advice do you have on managing those nerves and allowing yourself to come through as Jay's recommending?
Well, number one, Chris, right? You have to remember that managing the nerves it doesn't happen when you're about to go into the interview, right? This is how you behave normally when you're about to take a test, when you're about to sing in front of a stage, when you're about to play a sport, right? So number one, the advice is you have to do what works for you. Some people, they breathe, and they have a certain pattern of breathing. Others, they do exercise. They get up early in the morning, they exercise or do something. Others, they just talk a lot. And that's one of the reasons you have greeters right before your interview, right? Get your questions answered, get to talk to them. Maybe meditate, relax, sing a song, do whatever you do to get relaxed right before any stressful situation. It's not the interview, it's you as a human being and how you behave. And understand, there's a good quote that I love. It says, champions are not done in the ring. They're merely recognized there, right? So when you get to the interview, I'm hoping that prior to that, do everything that Jay said. You're going to talk to the greeters. You're going to adjust your resume. You're going to practice your lines. You're going to understand what the company is looking for. That's called preparation. The more prepared you are, the less nervous you're going to be when you walk into that room. Okay. And last but not least, the interviewer is just another human being like you. Make sure that I'll tell you a couple of don'ts. Don't ask me what my company does. Too late. Don't tell me that you're willing to take any job available. That's not how it works. Make sure that you've done your research and show me what kind of value you can add. Hint, hint. Chances are also very high that the person that you talk to in the booth and the person interviewing you are not the hiring manager. So they are putting in that conversation the interests of somebody else who's not there. So you got to be like a chameleon, right? You have to maneuver and you have to understand what they're looking for from an organizational perspective.
Yep. And thank you for that, because that's like spot on first and foremost. And I think you take it in the interview space, but both of y'all take it beyond that, because again, you're going back to the relationship component and the longevity of what that can turn into. Brianne, we're coming up here on kind of the closing, and I've intentionally sat on a question that we got like 3 minutes into this, asking a little bit about what can people expect on site in Charlotte? Will it be busy? What's the line like? The environment overall? And so I'm going to give you the last few minutes here to just kind of give us an overview of what to expect, because I know you did the last site visit and you've walked it all multiple times. Love to hear your take on this question and what your advice is.
Absolutely. So again, to the wonderful gentlemen, Fernando and Jay, mentioning like kind of come with a plan. So if you have an agenda, if you haven't already checked out or memorized the 2022.ship.org, it's not burned in your brain. Please make sure you bookmark that, save it. The agenda has been there for the last couple of weeks. We have our app coming out any day now. So you can also like literally add sessions to your planner. I would highly encourage you, maybe even add your favorite 2 or 3 that stand out to you for every time frame. In case, you're at session A, you stayed and talked to someone, you maybe have something that's closer and you're not like running from one side to the other. I will say, again, it's going to be packed. It's going to be amazing. I tell you, the energy is unparalleled. So you'll even just be talking to people in the hallway and you're like, oh crap, I just missed the session. And again, like they were saying, like, don't get overwhelmed, take a deep breath. I'll even say, especially if you need a confidence boost, right? Like run to the bathroom, pull yourself together, pull your shoulders back, take those deep breaths. I know Fernando just mentioned meditation, but it can be as simple as closing your eyes, taking 3 good deep breaths, reminding yourself you are more than capable. Again, everyone puts their pants on one leg at a time. So those are the type of things where it can get chaotic and it can get overwhelming if you don't pace yourself. Check in with yourself, make sure you're drinking water, please. I'll be big sister to everyone. Make sure you're eating, give yourself a break, take a seat when you can. Additionally, again, on the website, you have that chance to not only just look through your sessions, but also the hospitality suites. Additionally, again, as we were mentioning, if you have those dream companies or who you're focused on, look up who the speakers are because they're listed there. You can go find them on LinkedIn and say, hey, Chris, I'm looking forward to your fearless speech, right? How amazing. Hey, Fernando, I watched you on the webinar tonight. Thank you for dropping all those gems. Again, like these are your opportunity to connect with these really amazing people. Additionally, we will have our ship influencers. So Jay's a part of our crew, but people that have built these amazing brands. I'm sure you follow them on Instagram. I get excited when they do lives and share their reels. So again, these people are here to help continue to support you and hype you up. So be very conscious of that. Specifically when it comes to very tactical logistics for our career fair. I know they were saying don't be first in line. We actually have a much, I want to say kind of more strategic approach, whereas before, like you would have been in line for maybe 10 hours. We have the opportunity. So if you're first to register on Wednesday, you'll get a specific colored badge. I will tell you, I've slept since, and I probably will have very sleepless nights coming up before convention, but there's one color. So I'll say color 1. And so the first half of people that register on Wednesday, so you want to register early, will get that first badge. So you'll have that chance to go into the career fair first. career fair doors open on Friday, and then we'll have day 2 on Saturday. So we will have times where everyone can go, and then we'll have dedicated times for badge number 1, and then we'll have dedicated times on Saturday for badge number 2. It worked really well for us. We really tried this new concept last year with lower numbers because of, again, kind of just the COVID restrictions in Orlando, and they really helped us kind of manage our lines a lot better. So like I said, just be ready for that. If you do want to be the first in line, like I said, I would try to go for those Friday career fair lines, so that way hopefully you can book your interviews on Saturday. So again, please upload your resume as soon as possible. You want to make sure you do that. I'm trying to kind of follow here. Yes, hospitality suites are huge. Again, any chance to kind of rub elbows, shake hands with people is going to be amazing. So the question is, what are hospitality suites? So they are like just big dedicated rooms. Some will be as kind of informal as just like a table or little rounds, and they just want to talk to everyone. And others may have like popcorn and salsa going on with like, the theme lights. So it could be any between those two. And so like I said, just kind of be ready. Again, I would highly encourage you to kind of have a list of suggestions or your top 3 or 4, because again, one line may be around the corner and the other may be a short line, and you just hit the jackpot. So by all means, take advantage of that, be flexible, walk around, again, see who you run into. Like I said, getting water, getting coffee, you'd be amazed. So again, take advantage of those opportunities. And the same thing, like you may not realize just because someone isn't wearing their shirt, right? Chris tonight has his beautiful ship shirt on, but I don't have mine. So you don't know who I work for, what I'm doing. And like I said, maybe I'm in just between. I just got off the plane and like, oh, I have to go to the hospitality suite. So just be very conscious. Again, show your best self. We know you have, again, such wonderful, beautiful stories to share. So really highlight that. And again, just look for genuine connections. You want to genuinely be interested in other people. As Fernando mentioned, adding value, as Jay said, really stand out. Like, what is something amazing about your story? Because something that even, we're more compatible and connected in more ways than we even think. So the things that you think make you different, someone else could be like, oh my gosh, no way, me too. And then you automatically have a huge connection point together. So great question. Very much appreciate that. I'm going through the chat here. Was there anything else I missed?
Adriana's last comment here, that your cover letter could be targeted to the companies. Absolutely. And there's going to be a number of fun little things throughout convention as well. We are sold out, so it is going to be thousands, literally thousands. I'm waiting on a final count, but estimating somewhere between 8,500 and 9,000 on site. So it will be busy. There will be some lines, so expect all of that. And so the prep becomes even more important on that. And so, I think we've had some great advice here tonight throughout the conversation. And then, as I'm looking at the clock down here in the bottom right corner of my screen, I'm looking at the chat. I think we're up to date. We're 3 minutes over. So I'm just going to say thank you, Brianne and Adriana, for kind of jumping in here and just organically joining the conversation. And for Fernando and Jay, you two will be on stage at convention. You're going to be sharing a little bit of your story. And so I encourage everybody to check those out as part of the Fearless series. And I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody. You guys, on site, you run into me, please come up, shake my hand, please come up and say hi, introduce yourself. The whole staff is open like that. And half of our job, this is a very exhausting period in the sense of putting this and hosting an event this size, but it's also a revitalization for us, and it kind of re-energizes us at the same time, because we walk out and we get to see Chef's Mission in action in one of the largest venues in the country on any given year. So, I can't wait to see everybody, and just want to say thank you for being with us tonight and spending your evening with us. So hope you all enjoyed it, and we'll see you in Charlotte.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks. Y'all have a good one.